Stories about wolves and foxes. Wild dogs, of course, usually take the role of the trickster. The wolf and the man. A wolf and a fox were talking one day, and the wolf, who lived in the forest and very rarely had much to do with people, was asking the fox, because of course the fox regularly raided farms, was asking the fox, what are these men things? The fox said, I will show you. So the two walked together along a road, and they found an old man who had been a soldier in his youth and had lost a hand. The wolf said, is that a man? The fox said, well, he used to be, but he's not of any danger to you now. They carried on a lot further down the road, and they saw a schoolboy walking on his way to school. The wolf said to the fox, is that a man? A bit smaller than I thought he would be. You said that they were dangerous. This doesn't look very dangerous. And the fox said, that's a cub. He will be a man one day. And then coming along the road, they saw a huntsman with a gun on his back and a knife at his side. And the fox turned and ran as fast as he could. And the wolf carried on because he was curious as to what these men things really were. And the huntsman hadn't loaded his gun that morning, so he simply took the gun from his back, fired it into the wolf's face, and it was just full of buckshot. And it hit the wolf's face and just kind of tickled a bit. But the wolf was kind of alarmed by the loud bang that the gun had made. And then when the huntsman realised that the wolf was still coming towards him, he drew his long hunting knife. And when the wolf came close enough to him, cut him one way and cut him the other way. So the wolf maybe began to bleed a little bit, but of course wolf's fur's very thick, it's quite difficult to go through. So the wolf went back to the fox and said, these men things, they're terrible. You should have warned me. He took a long piece of metal and blew into it, and there was a loud bang, and something hit my face. And then he took one of his ribs away, and it was white and shiny, and he tried to cut through my fur. And the fox looked at the wolf and said, oh, for goodness sake. You really do tell a tall story, don't you? And with that, the fox went to sleep. There's another story of a wolf and a fox. The fox lived with the wolf, and because the wolf was much stronger, he was the master, and the fox was the servant. And the fox's only aim in life was to free himself from the service of his master, the wolf. And the wolf was always hungry. And so the fox said, I know where there's a farm where there are small lambs. We can go and catch 2 of the lambs and eat 1 each. So they went to the farm, and the fox managed to grab one of the lambs and pulled the lamb away from its mother, away from the flock. And the wolf devoured the lamb and said, but I am still hungry. The fox said, it's your turn to hunt now. So the wolf went into the field and tried to take the other lamb. But the ewe made so much noise with barring and whining that the farmer heard her and came and saw what the wolf was doing and beat the wolf. And the wolf ran back to the fox and said, You didn't tell me that there were people there who would beat me. And the fox said, Never mind. I know somewhere where a farmer's wife has made some pancakes. We can go and steal those. So they went to the farmhouse, and the fox simply slipped in through the door and grabbed the pancakes from the table and slipped out again. But the wolf, when he went in through the door, made so much noise that the farmer's wife heard him, and she beat him with her broom. And the wolf said, But I am still hungry. So the fox said, I know somewhere where a farmer has lots of salted meat in his cellar. We can go and steal that. Now the fox, being cunning and wily, knew how to get into the cellar, but there was a hole that led straight outside, or from the outside there was a hole that led straight down into the cellar, and there was the salted meat. So the fox slid down the hole into the cellar, and the wolf followed him, and they began to eat. But between mouthfuls, the fox would run up to the hole to check that no one was coming down, and would pause and listen to hear if anyone was coming. And every now and again would check that he could still fit his body through the hole. And the wolf said, Why do you keep doing that? Why don't you just eat the meat? And the fox ignored him. And when the fox had eaten enough, he climbed back up through the hole and ran all the way home. But the wolf carried on eating and eating, and his belly got bigger and bigger, until when he turned round and tried to get out of the hole, he found himself stuck there. And he was stuck there for so long that the farmer came and found him. And that was the end of the wolf. So the fox was released from his master. Story about the fox and the cat. Who is more clever, the fox or the cat? The fox and the cat met up one morning, and the fox said to the cat, What can you do? What are your skills? I am very clever and very cunning. I have learned many things and I have many skills. And the cat said, I can climb trees. And the fox said, And what else? The cat said, I can climb trees. And so the fox said, Well, is that all you can do? And just at that moment, a man with 4 dogs came walking along the path, and the dogs caught the scent of the fox and began to run towards him. And the cat simply climbed easily up the tree, sat at the very top of the tree, hid herself in the branches and just looked down. But the fox, who couldn't climb trees and who was outnumbered 4-1, didn't fare so well. Story of the fox and the geese. The fox was hungry. The fox found some geese simply feeding on the grass. And the fox said, I am hungry, I am going to eat one of you. And so the first goose said, let me pray so that I will be absolved of my sins. And so the goose began to pray. And when he got to the end, when she got to the end of her prayer, she said, Gah, 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 gah. And the second goose said to the fox, let me pray. And so she prayed. And then when she got to the end of the prayer, she said, Gah, 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 gah. And likewise with the third goose, and likewise with the fourth goose. And as far as I know, the geese are still there, still saying gah, gah, gah. And the fox is still waiting for them to finish their prayers. So perhaps when they do finish, I'll be able to finish the story. I like those. If you just heard them, you probably think they have more of the kind of rhythm of Aesop's fables than they do of Grimm Brothers stories. But I kind of like that message that wit and cunning will always win through over brute strength. And of course, there's a lot of stories about giants. Like Jack and the Giant Killer, where the little person beats a giant, and yeah, maybe we all need to believe that. But there you are. Use your wit. Use your cunning. Mm. So who's having goose for Christmas dinner then?